Hey everybody, it's Allie and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, May 5th, 2024. You know, I have always kind of liked Nikki. Even when she was at her worst, I've always kind of liked Nikki. But this week, I don't like Nikki at all. I found her to be a real bitter pill to swallow, pun intended. I mean, she pushed Jack to the edge, figuratively and literally. So while she was on her little hotel room bender, she stumbled out into the hall. Jack saw her, tried desperately to help her, to not only be her sponsor, but to be her friend. And she returned it all by just spewing vitriol at him and literally pushing him around the room. That is what really set me off. The way that she kept pushing him physically. If a guy was drunk and was pushing a woman around a hotel room, it would have been a completely different story. But it is no different. It was totally unacceptable. I don't care if she was drunk or not. Unacceptable. Ugh. Ugh. Nikki is a miserable drunk. You know, some people are like party drunks. Nikki is a miserable drunk. And that nightmare that she had where Victor and Nick and Victoria were all telling her that they were done with her, I really feel like that could have become a complete reality, because you can only push people so far before they decide that they need to protect themselves from you. And that's what happened to Jack. She pushed him so far that he just decided, well, if you can't beat him, join him. For as much as I loathed Nikki this week, I absolutely loved Jack. I mean, it's just that Peter Bergman was amazing. And I haven't seen him be amazing in so long, it seems. I mean, everybody's been talking about Eileen Davidson and Melody Thomas Scott getting Emmys. But I seriously think that this performance by Peter Bergman blew them both out of the water. It blew me out of the water. Honestly, for me, I think this was the performance of the year. I honestly cannot remember any other scenes within the past year, maybe even the past couple of years, that were as good as this. Melody Thomas Scott is great, of course, but Peter Bergman, it's like, oh, I haven't seen this in so long, and he is as good as he has ever been. This was 100% pure Jack and more and beyond. Because when Jack was talking about how he keeps his public face on, but in private, in that bedroom of his where we only see him with Diane occasionally making love, and when he's up in private in that bedroom, the places where we don't see Jack, he feels like his whole world, like his whole family is falling apart, and he can't do anything to control it. He can't do anything right to help it. He's Mr. Uptight. Oh, That was so real. In that moment, Jack was a living, breathing human being standing there right in front of me, unraveling. He said, "There's just something liberating about giving up." That's what he said. There's just something liberating about giving up. I thought that was incredible. I totally get it. Incredible. At first, though, I really thought that he was pretending. I didn't believe it was really happening. He called his drug dealer. I don't know. Apparently, he kept that phone number programmed into his phone just in case. He said, it's just one of those little tricks that you do so you can just to let yourself know that you can do it. Yeah, right. It's so that you still have that there. You're still holding on to that one little piece just in case you can't make it. Just in case you decide you can't make it, I'll keep his phone number. So he calls the drug dealer, and the drug dealer immediately knew exactly what Jack wanted. Delivered it right to the athletic club, freaky fast, like it was Jimmy John's or something. The guy didn't even have to come into the room. Jack just must have switched the pills for the cash, right there standing in the hallway. He must have just had the cash handy, because that big bag of pills was probably $1,000. Or I don't know, maybe it was so quick, maybe Jack just said, charge it to my account. You still got my card on file, drug dealer? But I completely figured he was bluffing. I thought, he's just going to take this right to the edge. And then Nikki is going to stop him. And then she's going to get it. She's going to have her seeing the error of her ways moment. And it's all going to be over. And even when he put the pills into his mouth, I thought, well, it's not really. It's not really. I mean, he literally opened his mouth and placed the pill on his tongue. Like, he wanted you to see he was really taking it. As if to say, no, viewer, this is actually happening. This is not a breath mint. This is an opioid. But still, I was just like, is it? And then, I just wasn't wanting to believe it. Even as he was stumbling around the room, I kept thinking, no, he's just acting. He's just trying to get through to Nikki. I did not expect it to have all been real. I did not expect him to be collapsed on the couch at the end of that episode. But the way that he was popping the pills and also playing with them on the table, having them out on the table and fingering them around and then becoming progressively more slurry and unstable. It was gritty. It was honestly gritty. I was like, whoa, am I watching drug use right now on Y&R? And then when the police came in to give him the Narcan, I was like, whoa, am I watching live PD right now or Y&R? Actually, no, it wasn't the police. It was just a paramedic. There goes the reality. I mean, you think that the police wouldn't show up to a drug overdose report, and you think that there would have been any pills left over for Jack to have handed over to Nikki at the end of it all? No. Those pills would have been collected as evidence, and Jack would have been waken up handcuffed to a hospital bed. He got off pretty lucky with that one, honestly. I mean, honestly. He got off he's lucky he didn't die. And then he's lucky he didn't wind up with charges. The worst so far that he's had to endure is the shame of standing there in front of Victor when Victor showed up and found out what his baby had been doing out all night and who she was doing it with. Because when Victor walked in, Jack and Nikki were sitting there holding hands. The room was thrashed, and the paramedics had just left. The look Victor had on his face was like, oh gosh, somebody's about to be in trouble. 2 people about to be in trouble here. It was like, what are you 2 kids doing in here? But also, like, that's Victor's wife, and I can see how he really wouldn't appreciate the way that situation went down. And again, I was just so ticked off at Nikki here because she also let Jack take the brunt of the blame. Jack stepped up and he said, Victor, this is not Nikki's fault. The paramedics were here for me. Don't blame her. But it kind of was Nikki's fault. And I feel like he should kind of blame Nikki. And she lightly protested Jack taking the blame for it all, but I don't think she protested enough. She went home, grabbed a bag, washed up, and went to rehab. It kind of sounded like she's going to be gone for a while because the way she had the goodbyes with Nick and Victoria, she said, keep an eye on Victor. Be sensitive with Victor. You know, he be sensitive with the man who's holding a hostage in our basement and I don't know it. Secrets. They are common. Secrets, they are common. But, yeah, so I'm guessing she's going to be gone for a little while. I'm guessing that Melody Thomas Scott is maybe going to have a well-deserved vacation. She has really nailed the drunkenness. I mean, I know I'm mad at Nikki, but God, Melody Thomas Scott did such a good job of the slurring. It felt very real, the way that she slurred, the way that she swerved around the room and couldn't walk a straight line. I mean, she's spectacular, even though I'm mad at her. I loved the look too. Her pink pants and her floral shirt. She just looked gorgeous and she was nailing it the whole time. And I'm sure I'm being too hard on her because I know darn well that Jack made his own decisions. And what a bonehead decision it was, taking all those pills just to make a point. But the really beautiful part was that as it unfolded, I started to realize, oh, he's not just making a point. This isn't just about saving Nikki. Jack is someone who is looking for relief here. You know, he was maybe kind of itching all along, and we just didn't detect that on the surface. Because he was talking to Nikki about being a little jealous of Nikki, that she's being able to find some relief from her problems. And, you know, I think that, so that makes me think that his relapse was actually genuine, and that's what makes it even more scary. I don't think this recovery is just going to be easy. I think Jack is going to find himself struggling a lot again. I think we have just swapped Nikki for Jack. We just got done for months watching Nikki be drunk. Now we're going to have to watch Jack be unstable. And just wait until Diane finds out. This is what I am really anticipating for next week. I want to see Diane. I want to see Diane's reaction. We had a little taste of it in the previews where she was screaming at him. You threw away years of sobriety for Nikki Newman? Oh, she was so mad. And we haven't gotten to see that out of Diane either. Jack and Diane got to be happy. That was so nice. But here it is. Here's the turmoil. Jack's done this to himself. She can't understand it. She's going to struggle with it. She's going to blame Nikki. And it's so true, too, when you look at it just through the Nikki lens. Because it's like, you really got to know what you're doing if you're going to jump into a pool and save a drowning person, because that drowning person will drag you beneath the surface with them, not even intending to, just in the fight to survive. I don't think that Jack really knew what he was doing as Nikki's sponsor, and now look at him. He's the one drowning. Last week at this time, the topic on all of our minds was, where is Claire? Well, let me tell you, never in a million years would I have guessed that the answer to that question was trapped under a dead woman in a storage locker. What the heck? Who was this dead woman? Who was the dead woman? Did we just skate over that? Because I need to know. Was this an accomplice of Jordan's? Has anyone informed this woman's family that she apparently died of a heart attack, collapsing inside of a storage locker? This is bananas. I'm confused. Because Claire said that Jordan chloroformed her, dragged her to this dark locker, and left her there to die. And then something happened with this rando, had a heart attack, collapsed on top of Claire, and Claire was just trapped under this woman's dead weight. Victoria and Cole had to roll the heifer off of her? Can you imagine being trapped under the weight of a dead person? What writer even thought of that? What crazy mind conjured up that idea for what Jordan was going to do with Claire? I don't know how Claire survived as long as she did. Wouldn't your legs have gone numb? My legs go numb in the time it takes to record a Y&R chat. If I cross my legs for too long, legs numb. Having a big dead woman on top of my legs? There's no way. I wouldn't have been able to stand up immediately after that. But yet Claire stood right up and was welcomed right back into the arms of the Newman family. And I, for one, am happier for Cole than I am for Claire. Throughout this whole process, it has really made me appreciate Cole. That man has depth. I mean, I was totally awestruck by how fiercely he fought for his daughter, defending her to Michael when Michael suggested that, maybe Claire could be in on Jordan's plan, which is the same thing everybody was saying. But Cole really went to bat for her. And then Cole, ripped those colorful keys out of the creepy body of his creepy aunt's creepy doll. Dang! That stupid doll, that crazy doll will not go away. Go away, doll! Go away, creepy dolls! I do not have time for this. I do not have time for creepy dolls on my schedule, okay? But I did love those colorful keys. Wave those little keys in front of my face, and it was red and green and blue, and I'm like, ooh, colorful keys. I understand completely how Victoria could have recognized those. Oh yeah, I recognize those keys. Those are the same kind of keys that Billy had to his storage locker. Maybe that's where Jordan's keeping Claire. Is it me? Or perhaps would the more compelling story have been, what on earth does Billy Abbott have stashed in his storage locker? You know what I love most about Victor keeping Jordan trapped in a cage in his basement? It's the fact that he had a deluxe leather chair installed right outside of the cage so that he can have a nice, leisurely sit down while he taunts her. I'm sorry, which of his goons had the task of hauling that big leather chair downstairs to Victor's basement prison? Something probably came through on the walkie-talkie. The mustache wants to, can you maybe lug this leather chair downstairs to the outside of Victor's basement cage? Oh yeah, the basement cage again, all right. It's somebody's boring everyday job that they go to, dealing with Victor in his basement cage. Because somebody's bringing her food and water. She's eating her meals from a dog bowl. And Victor's just sitting comfortably in his chair watching her. while some security goon goes home to his wife at night like, the whole basement cage. You have no idea what I have to do to work for this man. And meanwhile, Victor's telling everyone that Jordan is dead. No need to worry anymore. The bitch is dead. Quote Victor Newman. Oh. Well, how is this going to end? Is Jordan going to escape? Or is he going to let her go? I don't see how either of those things are likely to happen. So, what are the chances that someone else in the family is going to go downstairs for a bottle of wine and discover Victor's creepy dungeon prison? Claire showed up at the Abbott house on Friday to see Harrison, to check in on him and see how he's doing. But it was more notable to see Summer seeing Claire seeing Harrison. Summer got off kind of light, you know. She didn't really have to have a whole, sorry I called you a psychopath and wanted to have your head on a platter moment, because Claire didn't really know any of that. She doesn't really know how hardcore Summer was coming from her. And Summer, excuse me, Summer didn't really even have to admit to the family that she was wrong about Claire. Everybody, I think, just kind of quietly accepted that Summer was lashing out because she was terrified for the life of her child. And ultimately, that's okay with me. I don't need an apology from Summer. To me, I just think that Summer was following the evidence. It looked like Claire took him, and so that's who she blamed. But now that Harrison is back, Harrison is safe, Summer is definitely sticking real tight to Harrison, and she seems to think that Harrison is unnaturally focused on Claire right now. She wants to send him to therapy to wash that little thought right out of his brain. Hey! I happen to know of a great place where you can send your kid to have his brain reprogrammed. When did Adam and Chelsea become such weenies? I ask you, chatters. Because do you remember when Adam and Chelsea were like cool con artists? You know, like the cool kids on the block smoking cigarettes in their leather jackets. They were like the Genoa City bad boy and bad girl power couple. Kind of trying to be better, but not really. And now, Chelsea has become the poster child for mental health awareness. And Adam, well, he just needs to go sit in a corner and stop asking questions. Adam, you're expected to fork out the money for the therapy, but don't you dare have an opinion on any of this. And oh yeah, be sure to tiptoe around Chelsea and Connor as much as possible so as not to upset anyone by reassuring them too much, whilst still needing constant reassurance from everyone in his life that he's a decent father. What the heck is going on here? I cannot connect. This storyline is neither fun nor educational about OCD. Most parents who would be dealing with a child who has OCD don't have the luxury of sending their kid away to let someone else train him on how to exist in the real world. Ugh. 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 This whole story is such a driggity drag. Why can't Connor have a sassy Southern Belle personality to spice things up here. My life is beautiful. Ugh. Bless you, Tessa. Bless you, Tessa, for having a beautiful life while everyone else in Genoa City is screwed up. That was last week's quote. My life is beautiful, said by Tessa to Mariah as she was saying how happy she is with her career and her personal life. And then along comes Mariah to pitch to Devon that she'd be doing some Chancellor Winter's musical fests this summer. I hope we actually do get to see that. A music fest for the summer using their new green screen technology could be a lot of fun. Congratulations to Ron, Hannah, Sherrod, Dolores, Wonderful Wendy, Justin, Tanya, Henry, Tony, Daisy, and Brittany. Good job, you guys. I like this. I wonder if you're going to get it. Here's a quote. People tell me I'm pretty good at getting what I want. That could be said of a lot of people, but only one person said it this week. People tell me I'm pretty good at getting what I want. If you think you know who said it, then go to yrchat.com to leave your guess. And if you get it right, I will give you your shout out during next week's Y&R Chat. Well, speaking of beautiful, Liz, you are having a birthday on May 10th. And I really hope that your life is beautiful right now. Why don't you come by and let us know what you're doing for your birthday. And I hope you have a very happy one, a very beautiful one, Liz. Oh, well, all right. Let's get down to some comments. Starting with Victoria, who says, issues. Well, while Ashley's therapist is in town, maybe he should stop by Adam's apartment. Adam is making it all about himself. Of course, he catches himself and listens to Connor, but it always comes back to, what if Connor is like me? It just irks me. This whole storyline just irks me. And I know that it doesn't irk everyone else. Here's a great comment from Gary who says, okay, some chatters are impatient with the OCD Connor storyline, but I like that it's a wild card where we don't know where it's going. At the heart of the action are Adam and Chelsea, and I think the Adam and Chelsea interplay is interesting to watch as we consider their backstory of their complex relationship. It keeps getting said that Adam and Chelsea make Connor's OCD all about them. But I think Adam and Chelsea are both great, loving parents, beautifully conveyed and acted. Both of them have different types of mental health issues in their past, so each can't help making it all about themselves, as both separately consider that they may be responsible for passing the psycho gene along to their son. It would give you pause. Adam and Chelsea share the same goal of getting help for Connor above everything else. They are working together, yet each one has a different idea of what may be best for him. Oh, I have to pause right there because I wish that's what the story was. I wish the story was Connor's got this problem. Chelsea thinks sending him to therapy is the answer. Adam thinks bringing him home is the answer. Therein lies conflict. But instead, it's just, okay, let's all just go along with whatever these doctors are telling us to do with our son, whether or not it even makes sense to us. Ooh, I'll go have to do some additional research on reassurances to, make sure that I'm doing the right things. And then it also is like, okay, well then they're bonding in the end and that's really nice and good, but is all of this just leading to an Adam and Chelsea reunion? Gary goes on to say, because Adam and Chelsea are not targeted as future romantic pairs again, the positive relationship they work to maintain, given the horrors of the past, is something different and more complex than the usual ultimate romantic focus of most every plot. Or is the upshot just another go around of the Adam-Chelsea love story, reunite mom and dad? I don't know. I don't know if Adam and Chelsea are supposed to be reunited at the end of this. But I do know that I think the reason why this storyline really irks me is just because I have a kid that's around Connor's age. And I put a lot of effort into talking with my child. She has fears, I mean, she's just realizing that the world is really big and that it's not always safe and there are bad people and bad things in it. And I really go out of my way to take time and sit and talk with her. And it bothers me that Adam and Chelsea didn't do that job. OCD has a lot of compulsive behaviors, but they're learned behaviors. So Adam and Chelsea didn't do a good job of helping Connor cope in the first place. So he found these other compulsions that have made him feel safe, and they worked for him for some reason. Lucky numbers, these other things, putting things in order. This makes him feel safe. It reinforces it, and it just kind of spirals from there. But there was never, we didn't see them giving focus to the initial symptoms because he wasn't even home with them at the time. He was away at school when this whole thing developed. So they sent him away. He developed the problem, and then they continue to send him away to deal with the problem. When it's like, no, just talk to your kid. Maybe if you were talking to your kid, you wouldn't have this trouble from the beginning. And again, I know it's a soap. I totally know it's a soap. But it's, I guess, maybe a good thing that it hits my mom button, because then it makes Y&R Chat more interesting. And we all have our buttons that get pushed. And I'm not a doctor, and I don't have a child with OCD. But again, I don't feel like it's being handled for any level of reality here. I'm not learning anything more about OCD. It's just like, okay, Connor's video calls, hooray, and then Adam and Chelsea's reaction to Connor's video calls. I would rather see them embracing their son. I would rather see them bringing him home and embracing him and learning to get through it together. Learning together, not isolating Connor so somebody else can reprogram him and then provide Adam and Chelsea with the information that they apparently need in order to keep the programming up. Like, if the parents aren't involved in the therapy, how are they going to know how to follow through with any of it? And on top of it, the cherry on top of it all is it ticks me off that every time that Adam has a legitimate question about whether or not this is about how it works, whether or not it even is working, it's like he's shut down immediately. Adam is the voice of I think would be the voice that I would have. So what is that exactly, and how does that help exactly? And he gets shut down every single time, and then made to feel bad, like it's wrong to ask questions. It's wrong to ask questions. And then, yes, it just becomes all about him and his childhood, and he made these really great points about how he suppressed what had happened to him with AJ Montalvo, and he killed a man and didn't remember it. And so that's a really good connection point. Maybe should have been something that he could have discussed just with Chelsea before all of this. I mean, there was just no process of deciding whether or not to send Connor to the school. It's all just, well, let's do what Chelsea thinks is best for him, and then let's just blindly go along with whatever the top mental health therapy place in the world says to do. They must be right, and we must be wrong. We don't really know our own kid or have any value to contribute to him at all. Grr. Don't get my mama bear started up, okay? She got claws. Well, Calmness says, I love the ridiculously soapy plots we've been having lately, but I also wanted to express some appreciation for the writing of some nuanced relationship/conflict scenes. This week, it was namely Adam and Chelsea, as well as Tracy and Diane. I think you mean Ashley and Diane, though. In both cases, I thought it reflected a situation in which you can see an argument from either side, and it was about very real, sticky feelings that bubble up in close relationships when there's a stressful situation. Keep it up, Y&R writers. Well, there you go. See, I want to present all the sides of the situation, even if it's just not my particular feeling. The nuance of the relationships. Yeah. Well, speaking of Ashley, Daisy says, I wonder if Ashley's doctor/friend, Alan Laurent, has something to do with Ashley's alternate personalities. Maybe she doesn't have actual multiple personalities. Maybe years ago, the doctor used hypnosis to help Ashley with her emotions at a time when she was struggling. Maybe, for example, in a hypnotic state, he suggested that she remember when you were young and carefree, or the belle of the ball, or able to cope with anger, and so on. And because of the fender bender and Tucker yelling at her, Ashley is drawing from the hypnotic suggestions and unconsciously using those suggestions to cope. And maybe the doctor will figure it out and help Ashley become more of her normal self with the coping skills that she can use, but not as other people. Yeah, that would be an interesting twist. I like that idea, because I kind of lost some interest this week when the doctor came on. The doctor did not move me. And definitely I feel like Ashley toned down. She had brought it up. It was very big last week, and the Southern Belle thing was really toned down this week, and then the doctor came on. I'm like, this is just not as fun. So I wasn't as impressed with it this week, but hey, you can't win them all. Sharon W says, I loved every scene with Ashley on Wednesday. I can't remember what we're calling the lead Ashley in the black dress, but I loved when Southern Ashley told her that she liked her jewelry, and then in a later scene, the leg bracelet had dropped off, and our Ashley was in the black dress. Our Ashley in the black dress had disappeared. My question is, which Ashley suddenly appeared in the Abbott living room? Was this the real Ashley or another brand new Ashley? I'm a little bit lost at this point, but I'm really loving Eileen Davidson's performances with the great dialogue she's been given. Yeah, I guess I got the sense that evil Ashley, black dress Ashley took over. She was able to, something happened and she was able to squeeze Southern Belle out, and now evil Ashley is taken back over. And we all know what evil Ashley's plan is: to kill Tucker. Tanya says, I was loving the Southern Belle. I'm loving Southern Belle Ashley. She's so fun to watch. And it was a great scene with Ashley Belle and Mean Ashley. But now Mean Ashley's taken over, so we will see what happens next with Mean Ashley. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think it's headed toward trouble for Tucker. Naomi says, I'm tolerating Ashley Belle better because she mostly has dropped down on the ridiculous accent. She now does seem like a Southern Belle. That's interesting that you noticed that too, Naomi, that she seems to have toned it down for the doctor. I agree. Yeah, Gary says, I was watching Diane process Ashley's yesterday at Society, where Diane had the wherefore-all to relate to Ashley as a normal person, albeit a crazy one. Meanwhile, this sister-in-law before you is now speaking with a Southern drawl that she previously never had before. That's normal. Well, I guess we do know that Diane is aware of Ashley's state, so she was kind of just playing along. And I guess you're right, Ashley she dropped the accent. But later, Diane refers to Ashley's mood swing as Tracy would like to see it as an alter, whereupon Tracy blasts her for flippancy, which is unfair, Tracy. Diane happens to be right, and with all the guff she takes from the Ashleys, a little flippancy is justified. We're at that. Yeah, Tracy did not like that implication that Diane called it alters, and it did seem like Diane was aware that she was interacting with an alter, and she was just kind of rolling with it. How about this from Victoria, who says, there are many holes in all of the Genoa City's storylines, but the most annoying is how Abby knows nothing about what Ashley did. All the other Abbotts know, and some people who are not Abbotts. Abby was involved in the Ashley and Tucker wedding, so we're to believe that Abby is too busy or just uninterested to visit with her mother or call her sometimes? Yeah, Victoria, what about Abby? Why doesn't she know what her mother's going through? Well, let's talk about last week's poll question. I asked you guys if you were interested in seeing a Lily and Billy romantic reunion, and 65% of you said no. I actually also voted no. Tony has pretty much the perfect explanation here by saying there's no romance there, there's no spark, no wonder what could have been. She's an old lady and he's a charmer. Yeah, I don't know. I think also it's just the been there, done that factor. Well, this week, Devon continued to show his paranoia that Billy has gotten to Lily. He said out loud that he wants Billy out of the company. And then meanwhile, Billy told Abby that he wants Devon out of the company. And Chance and Nate are in the middle of it all. And will Billy and Lily become corporate Romeo and Juliet, star-crossed lovers from the two different sides? Like, will that be the case? That's the question that stands. Naomi voted yes to Lily and Billy, saying, let Billy and Lily have a no-strings companionship with benefits. There really isn't anybody for Lily except possibly Nick. Well, what about that, Naomi? We saw a scene a couple of weeks ago with Lily and Nick getting to know each other. It almost seemed like it was a hint. They were very easy, very casual together. They've never been together. They're both single. Do you guys think a Lily and Nick pairing would be better? I kind of like that. At least it would be new. Well, let's get to the topic of the week, starting with Gary, who says, Valley of the Dolls. I didn't tune into Y&R for this. Peels and booze. Yeah, it was very Valley of the Dolls, wasn't it? Ooh. Especially with Nikki all dolled up in pink. Gary also says, did the chats catch that AA is not in the athletic club, but in the church basement? I do not agree with that at all. I think they just tacked that on. There's no way that is a church basement. It's the athletic club. It's the exact same wood walls. I caught that and I was like, whatever. In my imagination, it's still, the AA meetings are still, they're in the athletic club basement, okay? You can go ahead and tell me it's church. It's athletic club basement. Sharon W. says, I loved seeing Nikki lounging nearly upside down on the hotel love seat on Wednesday in a beautiful pair of pink crop pants and a beautiful multicolored blouse. Aside from her outfit, her hotel room was as disheveled as her hair was. Nikki really is a mess, and she's having a hard time walking a straight line from the bed to the hallway. Nikki did later try to navigate the hallway, but shortly ran into Jack, who followed her to the room to offer his help. Bravo on her performance while pushing against the hotel door, trying to keep Jack out. Yes, and Naomi says, genius costume designer that dressed her in Barbie pink. It had quite the effect against all of the white backdrop of the hotel room. Also, she was mimicking Victor when reading his text. Subtle touch that made her drunkenness so real. Yeah. It was entertaining up to the point where Jack came on and then it got serious and then I was like, oh, Nikki, you just dragged him into this, and then I got mad at her for the rest of the week. And how about this from Diana? I never would have thought of this. This is great. Diana says, Nikki is also mixing alcohol with pills. She has MS. She must be taking medication for her illness. It is also amazing that Nikki can just keep drinking all this alcohol and never get alcohol poisoning or even getting sick. She never passes out either. She just keeps gulping down vodka like it's water and just gets more drunk. Hopefully now, Jack's very drastic and very bad decision to almost lose his life has made an impact on Nikki to change her life and get sober. It's funny, Diana, because I was thinking this week too that Nikki does for all of the drinking that Nikki does, there's never the side where you're like puking your guts out into a toilet. That's a real, your body's going to reject that much alcohol. There would be puke. And Y&R has chosen to not show even a hint of like Nikki running into the bathroom or anything like that. I thought that's kind of interesting. And yeah, I just love your point that she's mixing pills and alcohol too. Tanya says, what Jack did was stupid. But Victor saying that he would have let Jack die was cruel. And Victor, in the end, threatening Jack by telling him to stay away from Nikki was harsh. Yeah, I was kind of surprised Victor said that. Like, I would have let you die. I think Victor was just mad. I think he was just mad, and now he's lashing out. He wants somebody to blame for the fact that his wife is over the rails. I mean, it was so... I was ticked at him, too, for the way he was like... He comes into the hotel room, and he was like, go get changed. Go get dressed. Like, you can't... It was almost like... Go wash yourself up. I'm not going to be seen leaving this hotel room with you disheveled. I mean, I don't know. That's how I took it. I was a little annoyed. But then, it's almost like he doesn't want to believe that she's the problem. And Jack's the convenient target. Henry says, well, Y&R finally brings some reality to Nikki's alcoholism storyline. I shared on this platform months ago, having worked with alcoholics and addicts, that Jack, being a recovering addict himself, has no business being Nikki's sponsor. Even though his drug of choice was opioids, alcohol is a drug, and he was still drinking even though off the pills. So many holes in that storyline, but I guess I'll give him some points for risking his own life to shock Nikki into going to rehab. Henry, so you do you have to not be a recovering addict to be a sponsor? Or are typically, to be a sponsor, would you have gone through AA for yourself personally and then you become a sponsor? It just was always weird, I thought, that Jack drank. That he was sponsoring Nikki and helping Nikki to not drink, and then he drank still. That is what always kind of was weird to me. And also, it just didn't seem right that he was that close of a friend doing it. I would think you would almost want someone to be distanced a little bit from your life so that you don't have that personal entanglement, and so that you can't like throw all the personal stuff into the mix as well. I don't know. Like you said, nothing real about it. Victoria says, I can't believe it was real. How devastating. I guess now we'll see a storyline with Diane and Jack. He'll be struggling with addiction, and Diane with her anger. I hope Diane hangs in there with him. She has so far proven to be a very loyal wife, and if not, Phyllis will be in the wings. Ah, ding, 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 Victoria. What's going to happen when Phyllis finds out about that? She was the one that helped him initially. Will she be the one to help him again? Sue W. says, very soapy development. I am all for some meaty work, once again, for Peter B. He's been treading water for too long, simpering over Diane and furrowing his brow over Ashley. It's back burner stuff. The actor can deliver the real goods and break our hearts. Yes, that's exactly right. This is good. Ugh, it's so compelling. Naomi says, Jack's confession about how much the pills helped him and how much stress and pain he's been under was quite revealing. I can understand how he decided he'd had enough of reality and needed the escape that the pills and the alcohol offered. Yes, I mean, that's the thing about it. It's like, yeah, I get it. Of course. It did feel very relatable. T. Nicole says, I think that the show just did a hard turn on the character of Jack. I guess when Diane made comments that saying she was worried about Jack being Nikki's sponsor could make him fall back on his addiction, that was supposed to be foreshadowing for what was to come. Yeah, maybe. I know, right? It seems to be coming true. Oh, and Daisy says, well, this might mean more drama at Jabot. Kyle would vie for the CEO position, and Billy could challenge him for it. And while they're doing that, Tucker might just sneak in and try to buy up a number of stocks. Diane would then have to try to stop him. She might succeed, or she might wish she was in rehab with Nikki and Jack. Yeah, oh, can't you just see Kyle in his, like, judgmentalness deciding that, well, maybe I should be CEO if Dad's not capable of handling it now. And then Diane being in the position of maybe having to fight off Tucker, and because we don't really know, Tucker's not doing much with his glissade. It was supposed to come on to rival Jabot, and that hasn't happened yet. So yeah, maybe this is opening the gateway also to some new stories. Well, Sharon W. says, fellow chatters, should we again have doubts as to whether Claire should be trusted or not? Victor and Victoria were both giving Claire some odd looks at the tack house when Claire was explaining her kidnapping by Jordan. Just when Claire reels me in and I believe her completely, then suddenly I mistrust her. You know, I don't know if the plot's being played for it or not, but I don't feel like I totally trust Claire either. And I think that's a pretty good poll question for this week at yrchat.com. Do you trust Claire at this point? Naomi says, I'm not quite sure about Claire. First, she was the perfectly perfect assistant to Nikki. Next, she's a terrorizing kidnapper who poisons people. Then, immediately, she is saving the same people. Then, she's the charming waif with the room of her very, very own. Then, we are led to a fork in the story. Is she a kidnapper or a victim? Now we see she's possibly a victim, but did she cause the random woman's death? Magically make the woman's phone only have a bit of charge left for that crackly call to mom? Kids, if you are ever trapped in a storage locker and you have 1 bar of cell phone reception, do not waste that call on your mommy. Call 911, okay? That's the only call you need to make. I don't even think you need to have cell phone reception for that. Tanya says, I wonder if Jordan killed the woman in the storage locker so that Jordan could steal the storage. Yes, you guys, yes. Why are we even wasting all of this time talking about what happened to Claire? The real question is, what happened to the dead woman in the storage locker? I demand answers. But I'll never get them. I'm aware I will never get them. It's just that was such a big part of what happened, and it was just glossed over. Random dead woman. We're not gonna explain that. That does kind of almost make me wonder about Claire. There's just something's not adding up there, and I can't quite put my finger on it. Can you put your finger on it, Y&R Chatter? If so, you should go to yrchat.com to leave your theories, your comments, anything you want to say. That's a great place to do it. And I will come back next week to give you all of my feelings about it all. I love you guys. I hope you have a really good week. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Cool. Love ya. Bye.